boardroom. This is the Business of Esports. As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner, YouGov, offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports weekly news live stream / podcast after show. I'm Paul Dawalibi. I'm joined today by my friends and co-hosts, Jimmy Barada, Lindsay Poss, William Collis, Jimmy Mondel, and Jeff Cohen. That's right, you got the full cast today. For those of you who are new to the live stream, what we do here is we cover all the topics and news of the week from the esports and gaming industry. We look at all of it through a C-suite and business lens. We still dissect, we analyze the business implications of everything happening, but we cover all the news stories that didn't make it into the podcast, which these days is most of the news stories. So welcome if it's your first time here. The best part about this is we get to do it live with you guys. You get to participate. If you want to lurk, you're more than welcome to, but we do encourage you to participate, ask questions, get in our faces, challenge us. It makes the show that much more fun, all because of you guys. And if you haven't already, tell your friends about the live stream. Bring them, bring colleagues. It makes it that much more fun. How is everyone doing this week?
I think the bigger question, Paul, is how are you doing this week post New World?
I have not played New World yet, unfortunately. I have not had any chance. I wish I could say I, spent 50 hours on it over the weekend, but I really have not had any opportunity. A lot of people have, but unfortunately, not me. I think we did agree, Lindsay. You gotta go. You gotta just jump in there though next time.
I thought we were gonna maybe switch off a little bit or something. I don't know. Jimmy B's in Las Vegas. Jimmy and Jeff are in Las Vegas. I feel like they should go
again.
First.
They're these are like gambling addicts. I think is the problem.
we have not gambled a cent yet. Actually,
we came for the Mastro's butter cake, even though both of our cities have Mastro.
Mastros.
Yeah. I mean,
the butter cake is just better in Vegas.
Yeah.
Neither of you has gambled. That's hilarious. Considering you're both at gambling conferences, which is says something about the gaming industry, maybe. I just want to read some comments here. Juan, he says, looks like my favorite time of the week's about to start. Juan, welcome. Owen says, hey, everyone. Hey, Owen, welcome. Six Cannon says, I wore the BOE sweater to get a COVID test. Josh, totally random, but I love you for that.
That's what you
Owen
like.
says, let Lindsay start off. That is what we agreed, so we don't have the awkward moment. Jillian says hello. Jillian, welcome.
Hi, Jillian.
And Six Cannon says the company I'm in has the most players and control on our server in New World. Yes, because we know it's the DGen server, the all famous DGen server. There's a reason they call it DGens, because it's a bunch of DGens who have time to play all day and all night long.
I tried hopping onto some New World actually, and I got about 5 minutes in, and I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to catch up to anybody. There's no point in me playing this game at all. So I just turned it off and went to watch TV. I was like, that's rough.
I didn't play it because I didn't have time, but I watched a couple streams of it, including I think Ninja was streaming it, right? Like Tyler was streaming it a bunch. I
don't think he's playing New World.
I'm pretty sure he was. I'm like on 99.9%.
He's been pretty consistent with Apex, I know.
Oh, that's true too.
That's great.
Well, maybe I'm wrong because I was kind of like I'm not paying huge attention to which streams I'm clicking on, but
Shroud's been streaming it the most of the big
Yeah.
Twitch streamers. But he's a big MMO guy in general.
yeah.
If you play New World, you got to start fishing, by the way. If you're listening, fishing is totally broken. One of my buddies is sending me screenshots of legendary loot boxes that he's getting fishing, like 3 in a row. It's absolute. They're going to patch
People-
it. Fish until next week, next Tuesday.
Bro,
You
people have
won't
just
regret
figured
it.
out the weirdest. Some of my friends have like mining routes that they have the map out. And they're like, okay, we're gonna mine these caves, and I'm like,
Yep.
what? How is this fun?
That's what I watched the stream and I thought it was pretty. It didn't look like like literally the guy was cutting down trees, and I was like, at some point he's gonna stop cutting down trees, right?
It's
So
like,
yeah,
it's
then
just
he's gonna go to woodworking and he's gonna build some tables.
That's
Okay,
Yeah.
look,
that's
if you don't know
exactly
the
what
fun
happened. He
Yeah,
goes to
yeah.
town and I was like, oh, it's gonna be great. Town
Is it
moment.
all of your first MMOs? Like, hello,
Yes.
welcome
Yeah.
to the world
no,
of
it is,
MMOs.
it is my
Like,
first MMO. Like,
I will
really.
tell you the most exciting.
grinding mindless things
Yeah.
is
The mo-
the core gameplay of any MMO.
Which I fail to realize.
The
Like-
most
like-
exciting part of an MMO, the most exciting part of any video game you'll ever play is when there's an iron mine in sight and someone else is running at it and you sprint against that guy to reach that mine so you can mine it before he does. That is the most exhilarating
This is like when
moment
I
you'll
was a
ever have in
kid
gaming.
playing Ultima Online or
crazy.
whatever, cutting down trees. Like the graphics, I don't know. I felt like I know why this gameplay loop is appealing because it gives meaning to the power you accrue in the game, right? Like because if you didn't have to put in time and if it wasn't painful to put in the time, the rewards of it wouldn't have weight, right? Like everyone would have the stuff or, but honestly, like I kind of thought this MMO would, I don't want to judge it because I know that gameplay is fun and it does look, parts of it look polished. The combat system looks clean. I will say that the combat system looks really clean.
Oh, that's fun.
But like, I just felt like, aren't we past this? Like, is this really?
Well, I mean, if you're doing it with all your friends too, right? Like that's where I missed out. All my friends were already jumped in on it. If you're just vibing with the boys and we're all cutting down trees, if we're all doing that, then is it really the lame thing to be doing? It just felt lame because I was alone cutting down trees for a quest, and I was like, this is fucking whack. Like this is not the move for me. But I think really the key is like getting with your friends and doing it, the massively multiplayer portion of the game.
People always say that about games, and my criticism of that is like every game is good with friends. Like literally, like you can go get like Sega Genesis and play Streets of Rage 2, and it's fun with buddies. You know what I mean?
Like 64 buddies in a world conquest.
I know my argument is a little. Anyway, we should do news, not New World, but I had to bring it up because I wanted to know what people thought of it.
Well, New World's in the news, just by the way, because
can we do that?
It is a massive success. So much so, I'll just before I get to that, let me just tease the podcast because we have some structure here. Let me just finish reading these comments though. Sixan said, I've been trying to catch up while off work. Yeah, the only way to keep up with DGen server is you either have to have no job or be willing to play during your job's hours at the expense of your employer.
They're too committed.
to which are both bad scenarios, if you ask me. Goyo says, hello, Goyo, welcome. And Six Cannon says, it's a challenge. Well, you got to make a choice, right? Job, future, career, happiness, or more New World hours.
Yeah, like what's that expression? Like it's like sleep, work, friends, MMOs. Pick MMOs.
It's probably true for a lot of people right now. We did have amazing guests on the podcast this week, guys, so definitely stay tuned for that. We had Jordan Sherman, who is the new CEO of Immortals, and Ari Siegel, who is the chairman of Immortals, but also the managing director of IGC, which is the parent company of Immortals. So they just recently announced, and I'm going to bring it up here. They recently announced a huge sort of change up in their business, or restructuring is the wrong word because it's not really being restructured. But a huge shift in their business. I don't know why I don't have that link anymore. Here we go. should be able to see it now. There you go. And so this is a lot of what we talked about on the podcast, how they are taking their organization in a, I would argue, a very different direction, a definitely distinct direction from other esports orgs, and are doing some very, very interesting things that I don't think anyone else is thinking about. I will also say, for those of you who are on the live stream last week, remember you all made fun of me, the Prophet, being a fan of Zero Profit merch. You will find that I am vindicated. It is a genius idea. It is probably working very well. And so even though they're not profitable on hoodies, they are actually profitable as an org. Immortals is. It's a bit of a surprising thing in an environment where just about every other team is burning through prodigious amounts of cash. So that's just one of those things where fascinating conversation that drove the majority of the podcast, and you guys will learn a ton from those two people and a lot of very interesting insight into where the esports org space is going, I think. So that's what's in store for tomorrow. Let's talk about New World now. And this one was the headline. I just love the headline. It was so eye-catching to me. And the headline here is Amazon CEO says video games could become the largest entertainment business. And it was eye-catching to me because I'm like, wait a second, isn't video games already the largest entertainment business?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
So, there's a whole conversation around here. Does Amazon CEO really know that much about video games if he thinks it's going to get there? But a lot of this is off the back of the success of New World. This, for some reason, my login's not working here, but the Bloomberg article basically said that New World is obviously the biggest game success Amazon has had. The initial numbers are looking massive, and everyone's talking about the game. Everyone's streaming the game, and the CEO of Amazon thinks now gaming is a real thing. Now, is this just a case, I'm curious what you guys think, of CEO's a little bit behind the curve, and, he had to see success on his doorstep to believe that gaming is where they wanted to go or needed to go? Or, William, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just jumping in.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I am starting. I think it's two things, right? I think it's pretty simple. One is it's a little behind the curve, I think, in the sense that I just don't think games was on their radar the same way traditional entertainment, particularly streaming was, like streaming television and like properties, right? Just look at where Amazon was investing before, like Lord of the Rings, right? Like it just wasn't their focus, right? So, but then the second piece of it is like, you never want to say that the largest thing is something your company doesn't do. So even if they were aware of the potential and the success, right? Like they're not going to make a big deal and lean into the importance of gaming and the potential of gaming publicly until they know they have a foothold in gaming. So I think it's those two things.
I think it's doubly so, that especially because of their failure with I don't even remember the name
Crucible.
of the game. Yeah, Crucible. It came out and then they took it back. It was so bad they took it back. That never happens. So yeah, I think they were like, before we come out and really double down on video games, let's make sure we can actually do one semi-correct. And they did it more than semi-correct. So they did a really good job with this one. So, kudos to them for that.
I will read the quote from Andy Jassy, who said, games could end up being the largest entertainment category over the long haul. Andy Jassy said at a tech conference, "It's a bold pronouncement for a company with almost a decade of failures in gaming, and one that just renewed its commitment to the movie business in the form of an $8.5 billion acquisition of MGM." So they bought Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, right? So they spent a lot of money on movies, and then now he's out saying, well, gaming's going to be the biggest form of entertainment. Anyone think we may see a huge gaming acquisition from Amazon on the backs of New World success? And just to Greg's question here, I haven't seen any reports, Greg. I will say I did see that they peaked. They did hit the 1 million concurrents on Steam, which is a huge
big milestone.
Big milestone, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone think?
I've bought at least $50 in in-game coins, so
already
at least
there's like
$50.
only 2 skins to buy.
I'm sitting on it for when there's something I really want. I don't have to convert cash to coin. I could just get it, So
I totally do that, by the way, Jimmy. I'm like, oh, I better buy some coins so when there's something I want, I can buy them with coins. Like, the logic there, I really want to unpack sometime.
It's terrible.
Who here thinks that, is he tipping his hand? Will we see a big gaming acquisition from Amazon? Anyone believe that's coming?
You almost have to say, if he's going to say something like that they sort of do have to then lean in. If you're trying to be a consumer entertainment business and you are making a statement that, hey, I think interactive entertainment is going to potentially be the largest part of consumer entertainment moving forward, which I think we all generally feel is the case, or if not the largest, it will be a massive competitor to linear and streaming movies and entertainment. You sort of, if you're Amazon, have to now get bigger in gaming. And I do think this little taste of success makes it a lot easier for Amazon to make a sort of strategic move, acquiring a large studio or even any studio, really, now that they have a little bit of success they can point to. And I do think it seems like this is not the first time Andy Jassy has made comments like this. So it's possible that, we got to remember he's still not even a year into his tenure as the CEO there. This could be a big strategic priority for him. If we take him at his word, which I don't see any reason why we wouldn't.
What are any implications for the industry if we do believe they're going to start spending big dollars? Like, run this to its logical conclusion. Where do we see?
So what you're seeing with Amazon now is what we're hoping to see with the Riot Games IP, right? When Valorant came out, they revitalized the action FPS category, right? It was just Counter-Strike for 20 years, and now it's Valorant, and Counter-Strike is like, okay, we're going to have to do something big, otherwise we're going to lose our grip on this genre that we've had the grip over for 20 years at this point. They're going to do the same thing with the fighting game community, right? Fighting games, the maximum prize pool you see is like $20,000. Riot Games is going to enter the space, beef it up to $200,000, and then publishers like Capcom, Bandai Namco, they're all going to have to pay attention. That's what's now happening with Blizzard and really Activision. They're coming for their throats. You've had World of Warcraft for 15 years. Cool. Now it's time to start really putting out some great content, or you're going to lose one of your biggest cash cows, right? Those are the implications for the future. It's huge. And if they can really nail down content delivery for the next 6 months to a year for New World, huge implications. It's a new era of online gaming. Like, MMOs will be thriving in a way that they haven't in a long time. So huge implications, really.
Go ahead, William.
I mean, we've talked about this before, but who does Amazon buy? Like they got it. They sort of got to, like, they can't just do this as an owned and operated studio model, because every mega player has bought other players to aggregate, right? And if they're serious about this, like the success of New World, yeah, it's amazing, but like now that New World team is on New World. You know what I mean? They don't get to go make other games. If this is a hit, they're just going to be on New World for the next 10 years. So, they don't, it's not like they have bandwidth ostensibly to go do other things, really. Like, they're going to need to buy people to scale quickly if they think this is an important space. Who do they buy?
I also wonder if they
I have a thought, but I'm curious. Lindsay, go ahead.
I also wonder if they go for a big acquisition, or if they just shift more of their own resources into gaming, because it's not like they need to acquire anyone. They have a lot of resources that they could use right now. I just wonder what the strategy will be.
It's just like, even buying the biggest gaming companies would be inconsequential to a company the size of Amazon, right? Like, even $100 billion acquisition is not.
Sure, but Amazon's not really been built. They haven't really been built on big acquisitions. I mean,
that's true.
Right.
We've talked
exactly.
about this, I think, in the past, and I remember Googling it during the live stream. Like, I think Whole Foods was their biggest acquisition, and maybe it was like 12 or 13 billion. Clearly, they have the money to buy literally anyone, but you're buying like an Activision, you're spending $100 billion. Like, that is
right.
Even if you're Amazon, that's a big acquisition.
Yeah, but first of all, they have the money, right? So, like, they can do it, and that's
the market cap. Yeah.
2, new CEO, new rules, right? Like, what's the best way to define your tenure and differentiate yourself from Jeff Bezos? Like, $100 billion marquee acquisition.
Well, I think Jeff hit it on the head, really, where he said, they've never really been reliant on other acquisitions to grow and really gain a customer like a customer base that's loyal to them. And I think the way that they approached games in coming for the top dog in World of Warcraft and the MMO genre, which if you pitched that now, I feel like a lot of people would point to declining player numbers year over year for World of Warcraft and be like, why would you pitch this sort of game in the year 2021? Whereas they came into it confident in this idea and the execution of it. And we're like, no, we're going to go straight for the neck. We're going straight for the top. It's either going to work or it's not. Whereas with Crucible, it really just didn't work at all. They pulled it out and they tried it again and they hit it out of the park this time. So I think, to Jeff's point, I don't think they will really go looking for that huge acquisition. And to Lindsay's point too, they might just poach individual developers and just keep building this super team that just breeds content and like quality games. And I think that's what's going to be their approach moving forward.
Jimmy, I know you sort of attributed that view to me, but I'm not sure I agree with what you said that I said, because I think that a company of Amazon's scale, no, I wasn't trying to say that as like a gotcha. A company of Amazon's scale, like just hiring a few developers, like that's not going to move the needle. I think if they want to actually do this, I think what William's saying, like they sort of have to do something big to even move the needle. Like hiring another 1,000 developers, like that's not going to do anything for Amazon. They need to, like, if they actually think this is a strategic priority and Andy Jassy wants to make this like a pillar of the future of Amazon's consumer business, they need to do a large acquisition to really move the needle.
They basically, I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I think they basically can either buy Riot or Activision Blizzard, right?
Why not EA? I like the EA tie-in with sports and what they're trying to do with sports on Twitch.
It's a very good
That's
point.
a good point.
Potentially.
They're also doing a lot with sports in terms of license. Like I think they're trying to get, maybe this is what you're referring to with sports and Twitch. They're trying to get NFL deals, like licensing deals.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
No, I agree. The problem is, just from a financial perspective, it's really hard to take those games and then only put them on one platform, which I guess Amazon arguably wouldn't do, but maybe they would create their own platform. I guess that's more of an argument for why Microsoft can't buy EA, which I'm realizing as I'm saying it. But yeah, EA is an interesting one.
I think they'd go mobile. I don't think they'd buy any of these studios. I think they'd go mobile. I think
that's possible too.
I think Amazon's only competitor, or one of their top ones is Apple, right? I'm sure you guys all saw the IGN story about how much Apple made on games in 2019.
Check out Meta Daily.
That was a mobile play. That's where I saw it. It was your story, Jimmy. And when I look at who Amazon wants to compete with, as well as how they can compete, and the fastest way to compete, because they're well behind the curve here, is if I want to get into gaming and I want to do it in a big way, like we're talking about a major acquisition, I'm going to go mobile because that's going to put me in front of more people faster than anything else. So
I like that thought. Jimmy, perfect opportunity. Plug the daily news thing. Right after I'm gonna read some comments here, but where can people watch that and what is it exactly?
Absolutely. So if you're interested, which you should be, head on over to IG, TikTok. You can go to LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn as well. Really any social platform of your choosing. We've got a YouTube Shorts account. There's a Twitter account on the way. Metaverse TV, right? Everything, your one-stop shop for everything gaming, esports, anything you can imagine that fits under that umbrella. So check out Meta Daily. It's our daily news series. It's about 3 minutes long. It goes out on all these platforms. It's short form. It's to the point. It'll give you what you need to know on a daily basis. That's the
love it. Let me just read these comments here. Owen says, haven't played New World yet, but it seems a lot like Ark. All my friends grind dozens of hours a week while I'm still trying to get stone items. That is the problem with these kinds of games.
Honest.
Alex says Crucible was so hard to play with all of the issues. I mean, this is why they killed it.
They had a cat with a gun.
Maybe Amazon can use the IPs from MGM for gaming. That makes a lot of sense. Francois says, watching the BOE Weekly News Show while playing New World. Could you imagine a better Wednesday night? Francois, I love you for saying that. I can't imagine a better Wednesday night myself. Alex says, I wonder if when the larger streamers stop playing New World, how much the audience drops. We see games boom all the time, but end up dying out. New World will probably be here to stay, though, due to Amazon. I'm curious what you guys think, but my answer to this is the streamers never really drove New World. I don't think they first of all, they didn't even pay them to play for the launch. So New World's going to have an audience regardless of whether the streamers stop playing or not. I just don't see that having a major impact.
And think about the storylines, right? When you think of This is referring to Juan He's comment, so sorry, you read it through.
No, I'll just read it. I agree with Alex. MMO is not the popular genre in the streaming world since the entry barrier is too high. Yeah.
I agree. Entry barrier is too high, but one thing that will remain and will remain a spectator sport is the storyline 5 years from now, right? Or like 2 years from now. Who are the factions? What's going on? Who's been taking control of what land? XQC raided this guy's village in the middle of the night. Like those stories will always keep popping up, which is going to be the fun part for us on the outside.
Guys, I have another Amazon story here, and this one's a lot less. This one's a lot less positive, I would say.
Ooh, what could it be?
So we have a really positive Amazon story, and then this one not so good.
To talk about this one. Oh my God.
And the headline here is hacker breaches Amazon's Twitch video site, exposing future product plans, well, among other things. The key points here they list: a hack hit Twitch on Wednesday, exposing information on payouts to content creators and an unreleased Amazon Game Studios product. And the anonymous hacker said they were releasing the information to foster more disruption and competition in a post to 4chan. Lindsay, you've been dying to talk about this. I want to hear this. Let me hear the take on this.
No, so between this and the Facebook outage, it's just been, it's really just been kind of funny to see. Like every single regulator is going nuts. First of all, that's one thing that's definitely happening is all the people who are anti-big tech are like celebrating in the streets right now, which is not necessarily a good thing at all. And secondly, like we just had this whole argument about Roblox and collecting data, and I just like
that's true.
These two things happening were just like mwah, to my argument about like there's a lot of cybersecurity potential here. So I just, not that I'm celebrating this happening at all. This was a really fascinating breach for a lot of reasons. First of all, the source code being breached makes it really, really difficult to get Twitch back up and running the same way it was, because now everybody knows what it's built on and can find ways to get into it. So that's not great. The creator payouts being leaked, I didn't really necessarily understand the big hullabaloo around that. I think everyone kind of knows who's getting paid, and I don't necessarily think specific amounts matter that much. It's kind of sad for creators because I think a lot of them will be judged unfairly based on a dollar amount that just really isn't that important.
Like you said, it's not like this was hidden. These are literally sub counts in advertising dollars. So not even like deals or anything.
Some of them had their place on the list, and I'm going to bring the list up in a second, but some of them put their position on the list in their stream titles today. Like Miss Kiff had like, I'm number 23, like please send donations. Something to this effect.
I think probably the most interesting thing was that Amazon was looking at building a Steam competitor. That's really, that was
we
huge.
said that though, right? Didn't we talk about that on the podcast like many times that's what they need to do?
What did they codename it? Like Vape Cloud or something?
Vape Juice.
Yeah, it's something like that, like Cloud
I'm
Vape.
kidding, it's not Vape Juice.
Something great.
It was a terrible name.
Terrible name. Glad it's a code name. I hope it's really a code name.
Cigarettes.
So here's I have a kind of a take on this. First of all, to the source code, Lindsay, I just want to address that. This is the best news ever for the sleepy executives at YouTube Gaming, though, right? Because they're like 2 years behind, just copying features. Maybe with all the source code, they'll be able to catch up, which is nice without having to think or do any work. So that's I think that's if we're trying to find a positive spin on this, like those guys can play more golf now. The other thing is this that came out of it, right? Which is the numbers, and everyone here sort of was very nonchalant about it, but no one here was shocked at some of these numbers. No one shocked at the position of these people. Critical Role number one, and hold on, I will just say Critical Role is my longest sub on Twitch. Interestingly enough. I've been a sub for like 4 years to Critical Role.
Well, these were payouts over a 2-year period, if I'm not mistaken, and they don't include any...
August 2019 to October 2021.
Right, and they don't include any sponsorships either. So
correct.
Right.
So it's still not even that necessarily telling for how much these people are making, because they can have several other streams of revenue. So I
So
don't
no
know.
one is surprised at the numbers. No one is surprised at the order. Everything here just seems totally hunky-dory. As expected.
I just don't think I care.
That's
More the
It's
thing.
not surprising. I knew they were all just making a buttload of money, and I just couldn't be bothered to think about how much. And seeing the numbers just confirmed that, and I was like, okay, cool. That's all.
It feels
Okay.
to me like these numbers seem
I'm-
kind of low.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Like,
right?
this is a 2-year period, and the highest paid creator on Twitch made 9.6
And
million.
To be clear, Critical Role is a whole cast of people.
So
It's
you know
like
what
probably
this
like
tells me is
8
that
people.
Shroud and Ninja and all those people who got paid $25 million to go stream exclusively,
30
with,
million in Ninja's
Mixer
case.
or whatever it was, like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they made the right decision.
Oh,
We
yeah.
knew that at the time, but like, yeah, that was a good
Yep.
call.
So,
Clearly,
not
And
just
not
that,
even
but
close.
like look here at Tim the Tap Man, right, at 3.29, and Tim just left for YouTube Gaming. And I don't know, I just want to think and compare what he must have, like, what kind of upside YouTube offered him. Probably at least match that per year is my guess. I
At
would
least,
guess,
right?
I
So
would
that's
guess he's
like
getting double.
that's
But we
like
just
at the
also
least.
heard
At the least.
Nick Merck's Twitch deal was the biggest deal ever inked,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's what
Yeah.
we just heard, like, the last 2 days.
I was trying to spin some tinfoil hat theory about this Twitch leak happening after the Nick Merckx deal and how either Nick Merckx or anti-Nick Merckx somehow organized this Twitch thing to happen so that his deal would get washed away or brought up more. I wasn't sure I hadn't worked out a full theory yet, but
so I had this story lined up because I thought we were going to do this exact transition, right? But like the problem is we don't know the numbers for this deal. Did anyone see numbers for this deal? Because that would have been really telling, because I'm sure what's happening is they look at this and they go, Nick's making about 2.5 million a year on Twitch, right? And if I'm YouTube, which he didn't get plucked from YouTube, he's staying on Twitch. But if I'm YouTube, I'm looking at and going, I have to pay him at least 2.5 million a year. And so what multiple of this are they paying to pull people away? Is it 2x, 3x, 5x?
That's the other thing, is it makes the pricing so transparent, because this sort of tells you the cost to recreate Twitch, right? Like, I'm simplifying this, but like, if you wanted to get the top 25, which would be a compelling offering, right? If I told you the top 25 streamers on Twitch have banded together and started their own streaming platform called Top 25, like, we'd be interested. We'd want, like, it's pretty, like, this sort of shows you the cost, and the cost isn't for a multi-billion-dollar company. The cost to recreate is not that high. Like,
It's true. That's true.
I mean, I know I'm vastly simplifying things. Like, this doesn't work. There's whole communities, there's tech platforms. Like, there's so much more to Twitch than just the content producers. But like, I thought this would be more in line. And like, this is kind of absurd to say, but like with movies, like, actors will get, 5 to 10 million for like top actors for, sure. I kind of thought you'd be earning in that range, right?
Mhm.
Like, very honestly.
Or athletes, right?
Or
Like even by
athletes,
athlete
or-
standards, this to me matches the curve of athlete salaries in that like the top, 5 make much more than, the numbers 20 to 25. There's like sort of a significant drop off after 5 from a percentage standpoint. But it's, beyond this, I'm not saying making $1 million a year is not a good living. It's just beyond this, you're in territory where most athletes are making more money than this,
Yeah, I mean,
and
anyway,
arguably drawing a much smaller audience.
these salaries are insane in the context of, if you'd shown me this chart 10 years ago and said, this is what people who stream themselves, I'd be like, no way. Like, I mean, it's incredible in terms of the historical context, but like, yeah, I just thought you'd make more. Like, top 25 on Twitch is really, really hard. Like, I mean, it's hard, right? Like, it's hard to break into like top 25 in an individual game in Twitch, right? Like, these people, this is like 8 hours of streaming every day, full content teams. Like, this is like not like, this is literally like, you work super hard and you win the lottery, right? Like, to get to these numbers. And yeah, I think the payoffs would be, now, granted, I presume that the additional monetization on top of this is really significant, right? Just like I suspect if you looked at creator payouts on YouTube videos, they wouldn't be that incredible, right? You know what I mean? But I did think for a platform with so many direct engagement opportunities, the numbers would be larger, like direct through platform payment opportunities.
I'm curious what our viewers think also. Like, I'm curious if any of these numbers surprised you guys. Robert says, hello. Hey, Robert. Great to have you here. Jillian says, haha, Code Vapor. Yeah, that was the name. It was not
vape juice. That would have been so fun.
But it's also like vaporware is like a bad term, like in the software. Like, I don't know why they'd call it Code Vapor unless it's a joke, because they knew someone would steal this code at some point. And it's like,
it's the code name for a fart. Code Vapor.
Let's just stay on the theme of influencers, guys, because there's a minor story here. Actually, Owen makes a good point. A bit surprised Pokey is not on the list. Yeah, she didn't make the top 25.
Quiet this year, but that spanned a 2-year period. So yeah, that's definitely interesting.
But she also she drove that a little bit, right? When she told people to stop donating and capped her donations. And I mean, I don't know what number she was on the list, but she sort of purposely capped her earnings.
Context to the decisions, you know, if she's earning 2 million from this versus, and I'm making up a number, 20 million elsewhere, right? And she realizes she can have a healthier community and cap it and still get 1 million. You know, I mean, like, it makes, I think that decision seemed more shocking at the time when we thought these numbers were larger than it sort of turns out they are.
But this one was a bit of a minor story, but all streamer related. So I kind of wanted to stay on this theme. And this is a Blue Diamond, like almonds, partners with 100 Thieves to create summer camp experience, bringing gaming's largest streamers together. So basically what they're doing, they're bringing 16 of the largest streamers, influencers, and content creators. They're going to team up and compete in archery, water relay races, go-kart racing, and more. And obviously 100 Thieves is turning this into a show. Like a series, I guess, a 7-part series, and they're going to have behind the scenes and the whole bit. Now, I thought kind of a fun concept, but in the context of the numbers we just saw, do these kinds of activations make sense all of a sudden? Like you probably wouldn't go do some silly kind of summer camp thing with archery if you weren't looking for like a payday. Right?
Oh, hell yeah. It's just turning into the Hunger Games, right? Like, we're one step away, and I'm so ready to put 40 creators on an island. Oh, it's going to be great, man. We're almost there.
Survivor, but with Twitch streamers. It's going to be great.
Again, and I want to put things in context. And making $1 million a year, they're not going hungry, but like maybe they're more likely to do something like this than if they were making 10 million a year. I don't know.
Well, it just shows that the avenues given for them to monetize are more in sponsorship and promoted content, right? So it's just not surprising. And I think cool idea though, guys. Summer camp with art. This is like different content, right?
Well, I also think it speaks to the nature of Twitch at large and just the nature of gaming media. It needs to be incorporated. The advertising needs to be in the media. It can't be like product. It needs to be in the media, which is a new way of consuming advertising for this generation, right? It's a lot more interactive. How do we create advertising that's not disruptive but still very functional and very present?
Let's hope no one chokes on an almond while go-kart racing, but you know, that would be
it's not like that
bad.
really integrated advertising. It's just the name of a
That's what I mean. Instead of
on a show, I don't know.
Yeah, instead of saying like the
innovative.
Do you think we can look forward to some shameless sponsored interstitial content? Like, before the go-kart race, let's all get our energy up with a handful of almonds.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, if they're paying this much for the show, yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, these almonds
shoving almonds into their face. Yeah. One of them's gonna have a peanut allergy. They're gonna use an EpiPen. Like, that'll be a whole, narrative, one episode. I mean,
you're taking ideas for Jimmy's Island drama.
Juan, he says, Pokimane, at least people can't over-exaggerate me making millions a month off my viewers anymore. This is true. She can't make up the numbers now. I'm really not sure about casting content creators for conventional format for TV shows. Yeah, this is where potentially you could ask questions. Did anyone watch Shit Camp? This thing that a bunch of creators did on Twitch?
No.
It was organized by Cutie Cinderella, who's a big Twitch streamer, and it was like XQC, Soda Poppin', Hassan, S-Fan, like a large number of very well-known streamers. And basically they rented like a place, I guess a house somewhere in LA, and they all spent like a long weekend there basically. And they went to the gun range and they did like a treasure hunt style thing. They did a cooking competition, Gordon Ramsay style, and all these activities. They did a roast one night, and it was all live streamed on one of the 10 base streamers channels. Like they all sort of shared the live stream of this thing. And it was like a summer camp, but for a bunch of degenerate streamers. And it was, I found it quite entertaining, but Lindsay, I'm curious what you think.
No, this is just Bachelor in Paradise, but on Twitch. Like, it all comes back to reality TV. You put a bunch of influencers on an island and you just make them do dumb activities, and somehow it winds up being extremely entertaining.
Okay, but put this in the context of Wani's comment here. How do you feel about casting fundamentally gaming content creators, but in more conventional format TV shows?
I like this, guys. I mean, I'm just going to come right out and say, like, look, there was a big deal when they started casting comedians in dramas. Like, remember that? When, and then singers in, dramas and comedy films. And, the reality is these people are charismatic and they're entertainers and they generally cross genre pretty well. I think some people will do better than others. I do think some of the maybe more hardcore gameplay driven streamers don't make this transition as well, but
be hilarious.
Yeah, be hilarious. Maybe they do, right? But I think this is one of those things where you're watching for the person. So of course the person can cross over format because the charisma it's perfectly portable.
Speaking of watching for the person, perfect segue here. Paris Hilton in the news. Paris Hilton to launch her own Roblox virtual world, complete with DJ stages and the private jet. So she's adding gamer. The article here says Paris Hilton's adding gamer to her CV with the launch of Paris World, an outpost on the Roblox gaming platform that will let fans explore a stylized milieu that revolves around the celebrity icon. It goes live on October 6th. It's described as a virtual oasis of fun, possibility, and of course, sliving. A term coined by Hilton that fuses slaying and living my best life. Sliving?
What?
Is that
No.
the pronunciation?
Yeah.
The new gaming experience includes... I'm going to start using that. Hashtag sliving. The new gaming experience includes massive DJ stages, Paris's own house, a zoo, and because why not, a private jet, yacht, and her own personal island. Fans can join Hilton in the kitchen prepping a meal, at the beach relaxing, or even DJing a virtual festival. Lindsay, I know you have thoughts on this.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me this is genius, please.
You guys not remember when the Razor gloves came out and I said, oh, actually, Paris Hilton is really bringing back gloves with her new sliving campaign. And here we are, just a mere weeks later, and Paris Hilton is fully in gaming. I mean, she's just like a branding genius. She has changed her brand so many times. She was actually one of the first ones to do fragrances. Mm-hmm. She was the first one to launch a major fragrance
as well.
Huh?
Lindsay, who's the big winner here? Who's the bigger winner here? Is it Roblox or is it Paris?
I think it's Roblox just because it's going to get a whole bunch of people on the platform that wouldn't have necessarily gone on the platform before.
Interesting. Do you think it will attract a predominantly female audience?
Yeah.
If you're the fly on the wall at Roblox, do you think this was part of the decision making in this activation?
Oh, yeah. One of the conversations I've been having a lot in the past couple weeks is how to actually get girl and women gamers over kind of the fear of getting into the space, because we all know about Gamergate and toxicity. And this is such an easy access point in a game that's generally very friendly in its community to everyone. So I definitely think that this is a really good move for Roblox, and it reaches out to like older millennials as well. I think everyone who's
Mhm.
in Gen Z kind of already knows about Roblox, but anyone aged sort of 18 to 35-ish, maybe not on the platform as much, and this is an easy connection there.
Maybe this is a stupid question, but I'm curious for all of you guys, open to all of you. Why Roblox here and not Fortnite, for example, right? These activations are starting to feel very similar. You know, we'll make you your own little world. People can go explore it. Why Roblox, not Fortnite? Jimmy?
So, yeah, I'd say initially, just from I'm a consumer, right? I don't have a business background. As a consumer, Fortnite to me is more of a game that you play. You play the save the world mode, whereas Roblox is kind of like, I would liken it to VR chat if you've ever experimented with that. There's loads of servers you could just load into. You just kind of hang out. There are tons of game modes you can play, but it's a community browser with Roblox being the sandbox that you play in. Worlds to explore, things to do. Whereas in Fortnite, it's a little more, there's still those things, but my initial impression is that.
William,
it'll be interesting to see how
Jeff?
this. I'll jump in quick, William. Sorry. It'll be interesting to see how this works because the celebrity genre is something that on mobile really took off a number of years ago, and there's still some examples that are successful. But right after the Kim Kardashian game came out, Glue went on this like ridiculous spree of signing basically everyone with any sort of following, and they gave out these big upfront licenses, and the strategy basically failed. Like everything besides Kim Kardashian didn't really do that well. So it'll be interesting to see how this does because this is pretty similar, celebrity management game just on Roblox. Maybe it's a bit more immersive. I was not aware that Paris Hilton had such a youth following at this point. Lindsay, in a private chat a week ago or whatever, told me that I was wrong about that. So I guess she does still have a following. Because my comment initially was, "Wow, I love this," but like Paris Hilton's youngest fan has to be 30 at this point, which is not exactly Roblox's demographic. But the last thing I'll say is I think I disagree a little bit with Lindsay's take on how this benefits Roblox. And I guess it'll be interesting to see. Maybe we'll get some data or a case study around this. But I just find it hard to believe that the older fans that aren't on Roblox, that are fans of Paris Hilton, are going to like get into Roblox. I think it's more people who are on Roblox who don't really know Paris Hilton will kind of discover her, and it'll grow her brand more than it'll grow Roblox. But that's just my guess, my intuition. It'll be interesting to see if we actually find out that data.
I'm curious for everyone watching. I'm like the answer to my question specifically, which is why Roblox and not Fortnite, right? And which one you think would have been the better activation if you're in Paris's shoes, right? Where is your brand? Where is it better sort of placed in Roblox or in Fortnite? Let me just add one thing that I did see on Roblox this week, and I want to just add a bit of another layer to this story, which was, and this is something I only see on Roblox, maybe to Jimmy's point, and not on Fortnite.
Good. It just
and what's interesting is everyone knows Squid Game on Netflix. It's like the hottest show on Netflix right now, right? So I hear. I saw a streamer, specifically XQC, playing a Squid Game basically game on Roblox on his stream.
Yeah.
It wasn't an official Squid Game game. It wasn't an official activation of any kind, but some developer had sort of mocked up, I guess, some of the things that happen on the show in game form that he could play. And we're talking about maybe just days after the show really exploded in popularity. Is this the big advantage of Roblox over Fortnite, that you can get these kinds of quick and dirty activations that are not necessarily driven by a Paris Hilton celebrity, but have some tie-in to something that's timely and relevant, and that only happens in a sandbox environment like Roblox?
Yeah, it's going to be, Roblox will be the metaverse that we are. Whenever we talk about a metaverse, Roblox will be the closest one to achieving that before any other gaming company, because of their open sandbox nature, and that you can just create anything and experience it in the game, even if it's legal or not, because that's probably not legal. That was not licensed.
No, but this is why I'm so right about my bet with Jeff, is that Roblox allows for things that no other game today can do, like that really Fortnite can't emulate. And I think that's interesting, and I think it's interesting that Paris chose Roblox, because I'm assuming she probably could have brought her brand anywhere, would be my guess. I think
to further iterate on that point one more time, I think Roblox is more about expression, and Gen Z is all about expression and being unique and being able to express yourself. And Roblox really encourages that, where you can just be whatever, wherever, doing whatever. And I think that really aligns with like what Paris is going for, especially with her branding nowadays. So it's really, I don't know, I think it's really awesome, and it's a new wave of thinking from developers and marketing people alike.
I mean, one last layer to this story, if it sways anybody. This was news from this week also. Super Social raises $5.2 million to make games for the Roblox metaverse. Anyone shocked? Not much of a story here, right? They obviously develop games for Roblox, but the fact that they're raising $5 million, over $5 million, to develop on a specific platform like this, right, where they know they're locked into the Roblox platform, and are raising this amount of money, where an investor is going to expect, a big 10x kind of return. What does that say about the potential for Roblox long term, Jeff?
Well, I mean, I think we've covered a similar, like, this is not the first time we've seen a developer now getting financing to work on Roblox games. I think it's great for the platform. I think last time I brought up the comment of, well, what does it mean for a user-generated content platform if you start getting professional developers? Still don't know the answer to that. I think it's an interesting question, but we covered it another time. I think you're going to see way more of this, just because sorry, William, go ahead.
We absolutely know the answer to this. Like, nobody bats an eye when they read like so-and-so app developer raises, $100 million to develop apps on Android and iPhone, right? Like, this is the exact same thing. It's literally the exact same thing. And we know where this goes. It goes into an arms race, right? Because the answer is, like, you need to have larger funding to do more polished product, to do more aggressive marketing, right? To like where this is going to go is, like, you're going to see ads for Roblox games that are not paid for by Roblox. Like that I think is going to be like the next wave that's coming here. And you're going to be it's going to be weird. You're going to see it. It's going to be like, but only in Roblox. And you'll be like, what?
Stop it, Will.
That's where you're going. That's like where this, and it's happening very fast.
You were saying it fine at the beginning of the show.
I think it's interesting.
Wait, am I saying Roblox wrong? How do you say it?
Yeah, Roblox.
No, it's Roblox.
No, it's not.
Right, I'm going to call it Roblox because I like that word. So
where this is, if you take the App Store sort of analogy, which I think is perfectly a good one, William, and I think you're absolutely right that that's where this is headed. Like, is that necessarily a good thing for Roblox? Yes, in the sense that Apple App Store makes cahoodles and cahoodles of money. That's great. But you also have a massive discoverability challenge on there. You have a shit ton of terrible content on the Apple App Store. Like, I don't necessarily, it's not a clear to me that that's necessarily the best thing overall for the platform health, but it's inevitable. And it's interesting to see kind of I'm interested in the discoverability piece, because now it was all user generated. It was users creating the content. Then you have professional developers creating the content. Where's the publisher model going to be, and kind of who's going to create sort of the basically the publisher model for Roblox, where it's user acquisition, how to discoverability. Like, will Roblox basically become the App Store where they end up monetizing through paid advertising and kind of SEO and stuff like that?
I'm just going to read some comments here. One, he says, I'm smelling a lawsuit from Netflix. That's very possible. And Adam says, do you say robot? No, you don't. I have cringed every podcast I've heard. Roblox. I had to get that off my chest.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you for speaking up. Your voice is heard and admired.
You guys made the comparison to app stores, and I think it's a good one, right? But let me throw a news story in your face related to this. Apple estimated to earn more from gaming than Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, right? Being the store, being the gateway is a good business. Being the platform or the sandbox is a good business. Analysts suggest games generated $8.5 billion for the App Store in 2019 alone. Anyone have thoughts on this? it doesn't have to be in the context of Epic versus Apple, but just, is the headline here not fair to Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo? Because I saw that complaint on Twitter where people said, this is not fair. And I think it's even Tim Sweeney who said it. This is not fair. Apple doesn't actually make games, so it's not gaming revenue. Right? He's got a bone to pick with Apple, obviously, but who here is in that camp? And I don't 100. Someone could double check that it was him that said it, but yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
I mean, he's absolutely right. Apple doesn't make games. I also don't think Apple could care. Like, right? Like, why?
Yeah.
They made it at $8.5 billion. I don't think they're like, oh, damn, it wasn't some games. I think his point is entirely accurate, and I think this article. Like I've heard a couple people even at this conference we're at kind of talking about this, and it's like, whoa, did you guys know Apple made more in games than like all these different like Nintendo and like Netflix or Activision and EA? It's like,
but who cares, Jeff? Who cares? This is good for the industry. Exactly headlines like this, right?
No,
great.
I don't know if I agree that it's good for the industry. I don't know if it's bad for the industry, but it's sort of like, I don't know. To me, it was kind of like, who cares sort of thing.
There is a crucial difference here, which is they don't own any of the underlying games, right? Like there's an asset that these other companies are building, right? And the gaming, I think it's a bit manipulative to say like toll, like I actually think it's fine to count toll revenue as gaming revenue, right? Because fundamentally it's revenue generated by games that people were playing that ended up in Apple's product pocket. So I don't have an issue with that piece. I just think it's important, though, to understand that, like, just because they're making revenue from gaming doesn't mean they own and control games, right? And that can be crucially important, say, in platform disruption moments, right? Because this is a case where if I could perfectly, and this obviously wouldn't happen, but if I could perfectly create a clone of the Apple Store, right, I could steal their games very easily because Apple doesn't actually own any of them. They could port across, right? So they lack the exclusivity and sort of ownership piece, which doesn't, to be honest, like at the level of scale they're at, I'm not really sure it matters. But when it does matter, it can be a crucial difference.
So, William, are you saying the comparison is fair or not?
I think the comparison is fair for the revenue. But again, I think just because they earn a bunch of revenue from games, I don't think it's like...
Does this make Apple a gaming company in this context?
No, they earn a bunch of revenue from games. But that's
like saying GameStop. Well, let me flip this back. GameStop's not a gaming company. If I go open a store, right, and I sell other people's games, well, now I'm not a gaming company?
Saying
they're a gaming retailer.
A bunch of revenue from restaurants, but they're not a restaurant company.
Yeah,
I would have. Yeah, you're telling me GameStop's not a gaming company now. I don't know. That to me is there's a fine line.
That's why
I don't think
partnered
they're a
with
gaming company. Are
Complexity.
they a retail company?
Gaming retailer, sure.
I think, Paul, you can make the argument that the App Store is a gaming product because I think that gaming makes up a large percentage of the App Store's revenue. But even that, still, like Apple is even the whole App Store is a very small portion of what Apple does.
Fair. That's why I said in this context.
I'm not. Company.
Yeah, Best Buy is not a gaming company. Yeah. Neither is
my point is it's sort of potato because they're not owning, or maybe I should say, Roblox. Like
the tweet. I think it was from. I'm almost sure it was from Tim Sweeney. Just felt like, like someone with a bit like feeling like he just got beat and needs to take a cheap shot. I personally think these headlines are good for the industry, and I don't know why. Like, what's the case for against this? Throwing Apple into the gaming mix, putting out a big number like this. How is this not good? I don't know.
I took it as pejorative to the other gaming companies. Like, these companies aren't really that big, or look out. Like, I thought it was putting down the other gaming companies.
I think perhaps in the public eye, I think perhaps in the public eye, it may be viewed as the opposite, whereas they would know Apple as the home company for, like, everyone has an iPhone, whereas they may not know Activision Blizzard, they may not know other gaming companies, and they're like, oh, okay, these companies are making a third of what Apple's making. So to the public eye, it's some sort of scale, whereas they may have had none previously, but I don't know if that's of any use to anybody. So
let me read these two comments, guys, and then I do have actually more related stories. Christian says, I think Apple Arcade for $4.99 a month was a great way to draw more people in casual mobile gaming. Yes, it's an excellent product for casual gamers, and the reason why no one needs Stadia or anything else. Like if you're a casual gamer, just go get Apple Arcade. It will solve 99% of your problems, and you get the beauty of that like Apple ecosystem that always works, and my grandma can operate it, and all those good things. Greg says, is this the profit supporting mobile gaming with Apple? Yeah, I have always believed the iPad is the pinnacle of gaming hardware for if you're a mobile gamer. Absolutely. I was the one who said Apple should buy GameStop and turn them into physical Apple arcades with iPads, in case anyone forgets. So absolutely. And Robert says Netflix have purchased Night School Studio for narrative-based games like Oxenfree, syncs up with their interactive shows. Yeah.
Meta Daily.
Yeah.
we have talked about. Actually, we covered that story I think last week, which I thought was interesting. Guys, before we continue, just a quick word. Did you guys know 37% of mobile gamers, speaking of mobile gamers, have purchased a product because of an in-game ad, or that nearly a fifth of American NFL fans have expressed interest in esports gambling? These are insights from our data and research partner, YouGov. They track what the world thinks. They're a leading international research firm that supplies the best data on gamers, games, and esports fans around the world. They are tremendous supporters of this live stream. Definitely, if you guys are operating in or around the gaming esports industries, definitely go check them out at yougov.com/gaming-esports. I will put the link in the chat. If you need us to connect you to them, they have the most incredible, actionable business data around all of these topics. So just reach out to me or Jimmy Barada if you need a connection to YouGov, or go check them out at the link yougov.com/gaming-esports. All right, let's move on. We have more mobile news here. Two mobile stories, which I'll do one at a time here. This one, and I think this is going to be like an oldie, like a classic that I think we will end up visiting many times on this podcast. It's a common theme. It's new consoles. And here, new leaks reveal Lenovo's plans to make an Android-based gaming handheld. So this is the leaked Lenovo Legion Play. It looks like what they say, a mashup between a Nintendo Switch and Valve Steam Deck. So it's been leaked. It hasn't been announced. This is just a rumor. But what they're saying, according to the leaked files, this is the description. It says, designed for AAA gaming, the Lenovo Legion Play is the first Android cloud gaming console. It lets users play hundreds of cloud games, stream their game library, or play mobile games. Features a 7-inch display. I won't go into all the specs. Our developer program is open to all game developers, coming soon in select markets. Now, based on that description, guys, I think we can all agree, very strong chance this does see the light of day in some capacity. Who here is a fan of this?
It's a phone. I'm sorry. That's what it is, right? It's an Android-based cloud device. It's a phone. It's an Android phone.
It's kind of true.
They're turning
with
sideways.
The joysticks attached.
Yeah, and Lenovo has never made anything ever that anyone has ever wanted. So,
well, they make good gaming laptops. Hold on, they do make good gaming laptops.
I can't vouch for their laptops either. I've had tremendously awful experiences with many of them.
And Lenovo is historically IBM's PC division.
That's true.
And so
their business laptops are
business
good.
laptops are excellent, right? ThinkPads are probably best.
ThinkPads are great. Yes,
best
that's
in
true.
class.
But I cannot vouch for any of their gaming stuff. This is not getting me excited. It's a phone that they're failing to rebrand, and it's going to go to Southeast Asia. I guarantee you.
But no one here thinks in the context of a Steam Deck, like maybe this is a legitimate competitor. Why was everyone excited about a Steam Deck?
Steam Deck plays more games, right?
Yeah,
it plays all the
it
games
brought
off the
new
Steam
games
library.
to mobile and like this is
Android
like-
Cloud. I've never heard someone go, I can't wait to play on my
What
Android
happened
Cloud
to my
console.
room full of like cloud gaming fans here? Come on.
Not the Android Cloud.
You're fans of stuff, but we're not fans of like rebrand. Like the problem is like the device isn't differentiate without knowing more. The device is not differentiated enough from a phone.
Right.
This is a phone with a built-in controller. That's what this is, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we've had controller attachments for phones for years. We haven't really seen that market take off. And more to the point, I don't think, and the people miss this all the time. It drives me. I'm sorry. I just have to get on. So it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy because here's the thing: if you are an app developer developing like the great new app, like literally the next Angry Birds or something, that's going to define the next generation of people, right? You have two choices. You can develop it for a touchscreen interface, which is what literally everybody has, and you can build around those limitations in that control set. Or you can develop it for buttons because some tiny fraction of people buy attachments and there's a Lenovo phone. You're going to build it for touchscreen. So the buttons don't do anything. Like control, like the reason why we have why we have buttons for consoles is because that was the interface method that developers built around. There are lots of other interface methods. And in fact, I think phones kind of showed us, although we haven't quite figured it out for gaming, that actually touchscreen is better than buttons. Because guess what phones had before touchscreens? A whole bunch of buttons. So this just kind of makes me mad because unless they have a plan to do original content developed around needing buttons on mobile, needing this interface method on mobile, they built something into a phone that we don't want and need. Done. It's my soapbox.
Now, hold on. So if none of this swayed you guys, let me just show you one last thing. Part of the leak was another supposedly concept of a water-cooled Lenovo Legion phone dual H2O edition, with dual spelled weirdly incorrectly in this case, sort of. I don't know if they actually meant like dual, like fighting,
They're gonna make
or
you fight your phone for
dual.
water.
But it says it's a water-cooled concept of the Legion Duel 2, adding the active twin turbo fans was already a bold move, but bringing water cooling to a mobile phone is the perfect solution to dissipate heat and improve the device's stability in high performance mode. I won't go into the rest of this. Let me just make one last case here, which is, again, does no one think there is a very small but very hardcore segment of the mobile gaming market that doesn't want to use their everyday phone, that doesn't want to have a console, but wants a dedicated mobile device that is only for their hardcore, like, mobile PUBG?
I mean, I was a strong supporter of that, and I still am, but I don't feel as if this device fits that group. I have a really big problem with the controls on it, exactly as William pointed out. I don't know why anyone who plays mobile games, where mobile gamers proudly brag about how fast basically their finger speed is and that they can beat PC gamers, would ever go back to any of these types of controls. So I feel like I was an early supporter of these types of devices, and I still am, but we've had like a lot of leaks and not a lot of go-to-market data kind of come out. And I would like to see how these do in places like India and China and Southeast Asia, because I think that they could be really powerful and popular, but I don't think that this particular one doesn't excite me at all. It looks like it looks like an upgraded version of the Game Boy, which I love, but then it should be sold as a toy, not as like a gaming device.
Yeah,
So,
and I think you make a good point. In Southeast Asia, there may be multiple offerings of this sort of product. And so potentially this comes in at a price point that makes sense on the market in Southeast Asia. With that being said, no one in the US is going to buy this thing. It's like a Ouya handheld. Like, what is this? Like, that's
actually a really good... I mean, that's basically what it is. It's basically what it is. Let me just introduce one last mobile story, guys. I know we're doing a lot of mobile, but this is where the world's going, evidently. So one last mobile story here. And this is mobile gaming accounts for 50% of user acquisition spending. So if you look at the global spending around user acquisition on mobile, in other words, people paying to get others to download their app, games are 50% of that ad spend. Anyone surprised at this stat?
No, not really. I mean, I think it would be nice to also have the corresponding what percentage of mobile app revenue is games. I think it's probably pretty similar. So like, I'm not sure how much this tells us.
Like, just to put things in perspective, second place vertical, e-commerce, just 16% of all mobile ad spend.
But again, I think if you're equating it to if mobile games,
I'm not equating this to, this is not revenue. This is how much are the companies in these verticals spending to acquire customers.
Right, but I think you have. I guess my point is, I think the data is not. It's an interesting stat, and we can debate. But like without that, you're kind of comparing apples to oranges, right? Because if 50% of revenue is games and 50% of ad spend, then the mobile gaming companies are spending pretty in line with
I see what you're saying. I see what
right?
you're saying. What I do have here is there's interesting country differences, or at least region differences, and that is, if you look in North America, that number is actually not 50%, it's 57%. And the number 2 category is not e-com, it's fintech. Believe it or not. So fintech companies in the US spend, next to games, second most amount on user acquisition for mobile.
I wonder if that includes crypto. And that would skew that.
Yeah.
Like crypto exchanges.
What's interesting to me is this means you take away gaming, most of the mobile ads like industry, most of that ad industry just literally goes away, right? Like gaming, you could assume, is the predominant force in mobile today, if you believe that this is where most of the ad spend's going.
Does this mean Facebook is basically propped up by, or at least a significant portion of Facebook's products are propped up by the gaming industry? Am I making that inference correctly? I'm genuinely asking. I'm not sure.
This article has some interesting. Let me tie this, and maybe this answers your question. So, gaming makes up a quarter of all iOS downloads, 21% of all Android downloads. Okay, if you look at install costs across those networks, like Android, iOS, Apple leads with $3.86. An install from Facebook costs $1.02, while Google Ads comes in at 91 cents. I don't know if that tells you anything. A lot of this is being driven by hyper casual gamers, and the way they came up with this data is they just looked at 6 billion paid installs and figured out what was driving what kind of mobile ad spend was driving all this. So. I thought it was.
I would say it's interesting that those CPMs don't sort of come converge to one sort of number. I guess that probably means that they're getting better users from Facebook, right? They're willing to spend more for each user because there's better targeting, better,
and the best from Apple, obviously,
which makes sense. Apple ID, they have all the data.
Yeah, you're integrated, right? It makes it. You have Apple Pay. You have 2 buttons, and you're paying dollars for whatever the heck you want.
Right, like people are paying $3.86 for an install on an Apple device. That feels like a lot.
Well, though the Apple users tend to monetize better, so people are willing to pay more to get the Apple users.
Any other thoughts on this, guys? Before we move on, we have a couple more quick stories. I have one here on. William's going to like this one, I think. And this is Wizards of the Coast in the news. And the headline here, Wizards of the Coast is making a big budget G.I. Joe game. Supposedly, Hasbro, through its game division, Wizards of the Coast, they've opened a studio led by industry veterans. Supposedly, it's going to be making a AAA third-person action-adventure game under the G.I. Joe brand. It'll be multi-platform. They're hiring a bunch of people for this. And curious what you guys think. Anyone disappointed that they didn't try and make a pure Call of Duty competitor with the G.I. Joe branding and IP? William, we got to start with you. I mean, you were at Hasbro.
I mean, I just I'm my takeaway from this is a little broader, which is I'm just surprised more movie companies don't do, like, more companies with IP aren't leveraging their IP into games, and particularly when they've already leveraged it through movies, right? Like, there's a proven fan base. Like, I've said this, like, literally, like, if you're Nintendo and you're making games, you should be making TV shows and movies. And if you're making movies, you should, and building stories and IP that way, you should be figuring out a way to make games, because it's the same audience and it's crossing over. So to me, like, it's not this specifically that's interesting, because, great, like, good for Hasbro. Like, I love G.I. Joe. Like, that's awesome, right? Like, Snake Eyes, like, is the best. Like, I love him, right? Like, but like, it's not this so much as, like, I think this is the trend that's taking place of real properties today have to be multimedia properties. Just like you would be stunned to hear that, like, a successful movie didn't have an app tie-in, right? You just be like, there's no way that doesn't exist. Like, I think we're getting to the point where successful brands just have to have video game adaptations that are actively maintained in market. And conversely, I think successful video games, I really believe the converse, have to have entertainment. I really think that is a major, major gap that you're going to see. The biggest brands that succeed going forward in gaming are going to be the ones that sort out their entertainment strategy, because I think it's wrong. I think we silo gaming so much, whereas really this is an eyeball war for attention. And all of these things should be crossing over in the entertainment medium.
Jimmy, you had thoughts on this?
Yeah. I don't think William's going to find a lot of people fighting back on that, right? Just like great points all around. I wanted to say the article, I thought, just had all the right buzzwords for me as an interested, reader, viewer, listener, fan. And I applaud the third-person shooter route that they're taking. FPSs are they're really hard to get into. COD, Battlefield, they have these really strong fan bases, 5, 6, 10, releases deep. And I like third-person shooters personally. It kind of makes it feel like more of I don't know, this coming from a cartoon and a toy, right? It kind of feels more like a third-person shooter would be like me playing with my toy, more so than the FPS is me as that guy. So
yeah,
it hit all the right buzzwords for me. I think it's pretty exciting.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I never actually thought about that, but as you were saying it, I was like, wow, that does make a lot of sense for their logic and thinking. I was like, and they're poised too. Like Gears of War is probably the only other third-person shooter and they're not really doing too hot. So there is a hole in the market. And I wanted to say, like, of course, Wizards of the Coast, they have Magic the Gathering Online, which did really well, and Arena have been doing exceptionally well online. And so I can't help but think that they saw the success there and were like, hey, we've got Transformers in our bag. We've got Ouija, like the Ouija game board. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Lots of strong IP. Transformers could, there's a lot to that world. There's a huge amount of shit that they can do. I think it's going to be really exciting. And I really, like, as a kid, I remember playing the Transformers game on the PS2 and being, like, really disappointed. So I'm hoping for some cool IP out of that Transformers universe. Maybe it's time for, like, a Knights of the Old Republic type, like, Transformers MMO. Like, how cool would that be?
Is Transformers also Hasbro, or is that...
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So this development team could have other projects, right? Potentially. They may be just building out those capabilities with that exact thing in mind. What I was surprised, and the article does mention it, is why not, like, to Jimmy, your point of, like, playing with G.I. Joes, why not more an XCOM style game, like turn-based tactical, like, which may have been an even closer fit, but I did like the point.
I don't think that's as big of a market as a
it's not
first-person shooter.
It's
just
not.
like bluntly, like that's what's going on here. Like, I mean, how well did that work out for Gears of War?
Well, XCOM's a great game though, and always will be in my heart.
And Gears of War, the tactics one, is a really great game. It's just, anyway.
Yeah. Couple more quick ones here, guys. TSM, FTX in the news, releasing an NFT collection. Please, someone explain to me why anyone would want these. So this is part of the collection. The Dexerto obviously got paid for this article because it says the collection features some killer, unique designs that TSM fans are sure to love. I continue to try to get this NFT thing beyond, like, using it to tokenize one-of-a-kind items in-game. I don't get this, guys. Please explain this to me. Why is this cool? Why would we buy these?
It's only cool because there's three-letter acronyms in there, which makes it a trilogy of acronyms.
Oh nah, no nah, she brought it back.
Which makes it
It's cool.
inherently cool because there's just not a lot of those out there.
That's true.
It's cool
TSM,
because someone
FTX,
else is going to
NFT.
buy it. Yeah, someone else is going to buy it for more. That's why you buy it. It's pure speculation.
Are we going to look back on this and go, this was really, like we all didn't get that. We all missed out on it. Are we going to look back on this and go,
I don't know.
This never made any sense. We saw the writing on the wall. William.
I look. This is tricky because NFTs have real value. Like they do. Like digital uniqueness has import, but this is like
this has value. What is
very
this?
definition?
You sure about that, William?
Have real value if used correctly. Like
I think
this
like
is the very definition of Dutch tulips. Like I'm just sorry.
I don't know.
Like,
It has.
I
Sure,
think
it
that
may have
there's
monetary, but like, look at it.
I think this is a scenario where whichever our take is, we're going to look back and someone could say you're stupid for that take. I think undoubtedly we're going to look back and people are going to say, why on earth did anyone think that someone should buy a picture of an ape for $250,000? Like that, there's no doubt in my mind that 98% of these NFTs are worth, probably 99.9% of these NFTs are worth $0.0, like literally $0. But the reason why I could say that both sides could be wrong, or you would be right either way, is that undoubtedly blockchain and gaming is a massive trend, and there will be massive in-game economies. And I would argue that every developer from Activision to EA on down is going to have some form of blockchain included in their games as a monetization mechanic and as a part of the game. So both sides will be right, but there is not a chance on earth that all of these NFTs, these people buying pictures of rocks, those things are going to zero because it just fundamentally, and we will look back and be like, how did everyone not think that was the case?
But it's also, this is 100% agree, Jeff. But this is also just particularly lame. Like particularly lame.
Particularly bad. This is not good art in the first place.
Like TSM has $100 million from FTX. They could hire some really great artists and designers. And I get art is subjective, but these just seem so basic to me. I'm also offended that they say this is a first of its kind, because if you want the first of its kind, this is the NFT to buy. And we were way ahead of TSM FTX. So don't believe the lies in that article. This is the original that you want to own and guaranteed will be worth a fortune eventually. No, I'm continually, I guess my view on this is I'm continuously underwhelmed by both the level of the art, the uniqueness, I just don't see anything worth owning here. And maybe, again, this is purely subjective, but other than just following hype, like if you had any art critic look at this, would they say, oh, you have to own this? Like, why does the art world have critics? William, you're muted.
Launder more and more money.
Oh, I think they would say there's some killer unique designs that you have to own.
That TSM fans are sure to love, yeah.
Like,
Greg says,
yeah.
This is a crypto story driven by FTX's support of Solana. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, obviously, the two tied up together, they were going to do something like this. It's just so disappointing that this is what came out of it. It like someone phoned this in. Like, someone did this on their way to the TSM office, I feel like. It was just minimum effort.
What art can we get?
Yeah.
You know,
let's just open the Bitmoji app and see what comes out.
Yeah. Oh, my kid's really good in MS Paint. Done. Is he in the office? Yeah, I brought him to work. Done.
One last story, guys. This is our last one tonight, and I'm putting it here for a reason. The headline here: Esports betting giant rivalry goes public on TSX Venture Exchange. They've officially listed themselves on the TSX, meaning now they're a public company. I'm teasing this also because we may or may not have someone from Rivalry coming on the podcast, but and so that will be a fun conversation. But any of you guys think rivalry going public not a good thing for the industry? You know, I want to see if anyone has an opposing view here, because I don't know. I obviously believe this is a great thing. TSX gives them access to capital. Jeff, this is your domain.
Yeah, I think I've been very complimentary of rivalry on this show before, and I'll stick to that script. I think I don't see any way how this would be bad for the industry. More players with more access to capital and just building the industry. It's so early days that, you know, that's good. That's good for everyone. I think Rivalry's done a good job building a pretty good brand, particularly in Latin America. You know, Peru, I think they do really, really well there. They've also done a good job with that game Rush Lane, kind of creating a unique IP there that you know, from what I understand, is really driving a lot of engagement and is really a creative thing that they've done that's a bit unique. So I'm excited to hear what Steven has to say on the podcast. And I'm, you know, my congratulations to them getting public.
Anyone else have thoughts on rivalry? Public esports betting companies, just curious. Here's the question maybe I should ask instead, which is, how many more esports IPOs do we think we will see between now and this time next year? Like, how many companies do we think have enough scale to go public at this point?
I like how Lindsay and I had the exact same facial reaction. We were both just like, because,
Lindsay?
yeah.
How many do you think could?
I don't have enough knowledge to quantify, but I was just thinking about, I read that the spending on mergers has already doubled the spending of 2020, which clearly means that there is a lot of money and interest out there. So I don't know about numbers, but it doesn't seem like a bad time to IPO if you can support it, I guess, is more.
Well, the good reasons are, you know, first of all, you need to have enough scale, but second of all, it's access to capital, right? Which is why these high growth companies like the esports betting companies or like the media companies like EGLX, this is why they're going public, like Enthusiast, because they're growing fast and they need the access to capital. The question is, what's left out there that we think, you know, is imminent over the next 6 to 12 months?
Teams.
You think we'll see teams, Jeff?
I think we'll see a big team, a top 10 team go public. I'm hoping that. I obviously have no information on this. It just seems like a lot of them have gotten to the point of scale. I think once one should do it, because once one goes public, they can start to maybe roll up, do some acquisitions, use their stock as a currency, raise a bunch of money, and kind of really build even more scale. So like, I think that one of the top 10 organizations will go public in the next 12 months. Are
there already, like, I don't know, maybe in football or soccer, teams that have IPO'd?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a couple of esports, like Astralis is public in Europe.
Oh, right.
What's his Complexity just got acquired by, I forget who.
And the reason I ask is because I think of like football team or soccer teams like PSG or something, right? Like,
so Man U is public. There's a couple others. There are some big teams that are public. The Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, right. Man U has like an esports division, which is kind of crazy.
They do their own esports teams.
Yeah, they have their own esports teams, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, I mean, you know, now that you're mentioning it, I'm connecting the dots, but I hadn't prior. Interesting.
Guys, that wraps up this week's podcast. We got to end with, what are we playing this week? And my question to all of you is, did anyone play the new Battlefield beta? Because I'm really curious.
No, but the stock was down. EA was down 7% today, apparently. There was a lot of bugs. So.
Because there were bugs? Seriously?
That's crazy, though. Everything I saw on social media was saying, like, rip COD, rip Call of Duty, like, COD's over, like, just hyping up Battlefield. You told me that this morning that it was down big time, but I've heard nothing but positive things on social.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about it, but I'm trying to play it probably later tonight or something, or maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I haven't seen anything. It's always a
fun battle, right? It's always a fun sort of the COD versus Battlefield crowd. I feel like you get real people fanboying and fangirling one way or the other, right? Like just very hardcore.
Can I
fans
pose you
of
guys
one-
like a question real quick?
Yeah.
Do you think that the player base for Battlefield is overall older than Call of Duty? Because
Yes.
that's my thesis.
Yes.
You grow old and then you play Battlefield.
You
Because that's what's
grow
about that.
old, you get wise, and you realize Battlefield is the better game. That's what
Ooh,
happens.
okay.
That's what happens.
That's one way to
And
put
I
it.
like COD, but Battlefield's the better game. Anyone else play something fun before we wrap up here?
New World. So much
New World.
New World.
Diablo, playing some Diablo and still playing Streets of Rage, which is
Yeah.
actually surprisingly long-lived for me. It's just a fun 20-minute beat 'em up. Like, I'm stunned how long Streets of Rage 4 has stayed in my play catalog.
Interesting.
Diablo's been fun. Been
Yeah,
playing
Diablo's been.
Diablo too.
What level are you, Jimmy?
In Diablo 2. So I
Yeah.
made a barbarian up to level 25 and then quickly realized that the barbarian can't kill anything by itself, so I had to go back and make another character because that's the kind of game Diablo 2
You gotta
is. It's
run
unrelenting.
traps in, my friend. That's like literally like traps in for the win.
It's just so hardcore. I'll die, once a night and I'll just give up on the game. I just can't do it anymore, and so I'll just try again tomorrow. I'm like, man, I don't have it in me to just
Do you play hardcore?
try
Do you
and
play hardcore mode or?
No, I can't play hardcore. I've only played hardcore once in my entire life. Made it to level 12, and hardcore is where if you die, you don't respawn. I made it to level 12, died, and I was like, I am heartbroken. I was only level 12. Imagine if I was level 90 or I don't know what I would have done, man.
There's a reason they call this hardcore.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Jimmy,
not
I
built for
think
that.
mode might not be for you, buddy. Like,
I love also Lindsay and Jeff eerily quiet during this segment. Jeff, you're playing mobile games, right? Because you're in a hotel. You're you've been playing Candy Crush this whole time.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for the Kardashian event.
You're trying. You're trying to artificially, boost Activision stock, by playing more Candy Crush.
No comment on that.
No
As a
comment.
shareholder, I can't manipulate Activision stock.
Lindsay.
I was just thinking, I wish this could turn into a segment of what game am I hearing Kevin yell at while I'm trying to nap?
We could make that happen. We could
Yeah,
make
because
that
that's
happen.
more accurate for me personally. And this week it was Control. He woke me up from a nice migraine nap by screaming at Control.
I feel like that game was hot for a minute and then just sort of disappeared.
Yeah,
think it's like
it
an
seems it's
experience
an up
type
and down
thing.
one for him.
Yeah. Guys, on that note, that ends this week's weekly news show live stream. We do this every Wednesday evening, 8:30 Eastern time. For all of you who are here, who commented, who asked questions, we really appreciate you guys. This was what makes the show fun. Tell your friends, tell your family about the show. We really encourage everyone to participate. It's such a safe space, and it makes it so exciting and interesting for all of us. The podcast drops tomorrow. Make sure to follow us everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, you name it. Everywhere you find Business of Esports, you will find our content. And as mentioned, go check out Jimmy's daily news show on Metaverse TV. So go check that out on Instagram and TikTok at Metaverse TV.
It's free. You don't have to subscribe for short form content. Wow, it's crazy, right?
And he has had some really awesome TikToks. They're a lot of fun.
And his $1 billion NFTs are coming very soon.
There you go. As always, guys, thank you so much. We will see you all next week.